once, Buzz. My ass.
I'm only four. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I'm your host, and we're discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 76th year of the award at the 80th Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 2007. Today's guest is appearing for the first time. Please welcome the record holder for most consecutive watches of The Big Country, Emily. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this.
I'm excited to have you on. Just tell us, what is your familiarity with the Best Animated Short category? I'm
going to be honest, before this, very little. When I saw an animated short as a kid, I'd be like, I like that, and then just never think about it again. I'm not as much of an Oscars purist as you, so I haven't seen as much.
Very understandable. Many guests on this podcast are like that. You fit right in. But before we even get into the short films we're here to talk about, while this show is very short film centric, there is also a Best Animated Feature category at the Academy Awards. So to be fair to them, Emily, I will just list off the names of the nominees for Best Animated Feature one by one, and I want you to tell me in just one word what you think of them, or simply say you haven't seen it if you haven't seen it.
Okay.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first we have the winner, which is Ratatouille.
Charming.
Number 2, we have Persepolis.
Haven't seen.
And number 3, we have Surf's Up.
Forgettable. I think I saw that once as a kid.
All right, now we'll move on to the films we're here to talk about. Our first nominee and the year's winner is Peter and the Wolf, directed by Susie Templeton. This is the first and only nomination for Templeton and producer Hugh Welchman. Templeton didn't always have an interest in animation, first graduating from University College London with a sciences degree. But after spending a few years doing odd jobs and being shown Wallace and Gromit by her mother, she enrolled at the Surrey Institute of Art and Design in 1995, specializing in stop-motion animation and model making, appreciating the slow and meticulous nature of that medium. She eventually transferred to the Royal College of Art and there made 2 short films, Stanley and Dog, both of which pushed her career further. It was after graduating from RCA in 2001 that she began production on Peter and the Wolf. It began with Hugh Welchman, founder of Breakthrough Films, approaching Templeton with the idea, originally intended the film to be played while an orchestra performs the work. Templeton wanted to make the film on her own, but soon she realized the scale of the production and took the film to Poland with the company Semaphore, which also produced previous Oscar winner Tango. Even with the help of Semaphore, the film still took 5 years to complete, eventually premiering in September 2006 at the Royal Albert Hall in London with live accompaniment. The film would go on to tour around the UK with other exhibitions in Australia, Hong Kong, Ireland, and the US, eventually screening on British television on Christmas Eve 2006 and in the US on March 26, 2008. I'm not sure how all of this fits with the Academy's eligibility rules, as its first screening was before the October 2006 eligibility period, and its first American screening was after its British TV premiere, but either the Academy didn't notice or just didn't care. Since Peter and the Wolf, Susie Templeton has announced multiple future projects, but none of them have as of yet seen the light of day. Just goes to show how difficult the animation world is. We have had filmmakers before talk about how winning the Oscar would be able to secure them a future project, let them make another film, but here we are with someone who hasn't had that luck with the award on her mantle. Let's hope that her most recent let's hope that her most recent projects, either the feature film Spitsbergen or the short Return to Nyx, get completed. But back to the film at hand. Peter and the Wolf is an adaptation of the symphony by Sergei Prokofiev, originally written in 1936. The piece was written to help children appreciate music and teach them the instruments. Typically, a performance of the piece has a narrator telling the story, while the music helps illustrate what's happening, with each instrument representing a different character, with Peter himself being a string quartet, the wolf is three horns, and so on for all the characters. The piece has been performed again and again since its inception, including being turned into a Disney short film in 1946. And my favorite versions of it are the Weird Al and Wendy Carlos collaboration parody album, as well as the Sophia Loren narrated version featured on an album with Bill Clinton narrating Wolf Tracks, the sequel to Peter and the Wolf, as well as interludes by Mikhail Gorbachev, which earned the three of them a Grammy win. Unlike most adaptations, today's nominee goes without narration and tells the entire story entirely with the music and the visuals. It even changes the traditional story slightly to make it a bit more gritty. Peter and the Wolf is about a boy who lives with his grandfather. One day, he befriends a duck and a bird who have gotten stuck within the walls of his village. Peter steals his grandfather's keys and brings them into the forest, and they play together on the frozen lake. The grandfather soon finds Peter and locks him back inside the village. Peter gazes out at the forest while trapped and notices a wolf eyeing the animals he's befriended, also including his grandfather's cat, who mistakenly got locked outside. He tries to save the duck, beckoning it towards a hole in the wall, but the wolf catches the duck and eats it whole. Peter, desperate to save his remaining friends, escapes the village by using a rope and hatches a plan to catch the wolf. The film was also nominated for the BAFTA for Best Animated Short, and is also the longest winner in this category so far, only beaten by the most recent winner as of this recording, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And also, this Oscar was presented by Barry B. Benson from the Bee Movie. Emily, what did you think of Peter and the Wolf?
I liked it. I found it pretty interesting and relaxing in a way to watch, which is funny because the scene where the duck gets eaten is horrifying. But I don't know. I haven't seen as many as you, but I really found the animation gorgeous. I liked the evil fat cat. I found the setting really interesting with it being set in Eastern Europe, if, if not Russia specifically.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just had a good time watching it.
Yeah, I do really I'm not a fan of this film, but I'll start with the positives. It's like I do like the stop motion animation. I think it does look really well. I think the setting is incorporated well into the story and stuff. Like really like the visual aspects of it are all very nice. However, I'm just not much of a fan of Peter and the Wolf, or especially just like adapting it to film to begin with.
Mhm.
Like I've seen the Disney version of it like many times, and I've always I think it's in the film Make My Music, which is a collection of different Disney shorts, and it's
Mhm.
always the one that I like fast forward through because I just find that one just so boring. And it's the same thing here, and I think a lot of it is because like it's partially because of the music itself, like how it's meant to be presented with the
Mhm.
narrator and the music in tandem. And it's and I think it can work fine like as just a standalone orchestral piece, but the film itself like is a lot more, at least most adaptations like film it in a way where it makes you feel like it should be presented a bit quicker, but because the piece itself is so long, it's like it wants to draw it out longer than it really needs to be. And so
Mhm.
we just get a film here that goes way too long. And it's just like I find myself just like I just want to cut it. It's like I want to just like cut this thing down a bit, but it's like no, you can't because it's about the music. But it's like most other things wouldn't prioritize the music as much as this does, because
Mhm.
most other things aren't based off of orchestra pieces, just like telling the story that composition is telling or whatever. But it's just like it's frustrating to watch this essentially. It's like I feel like this could be something that's really great, and I know a lot of people do think it's really great. Like I once got a comment on one of my old letterbox reviews of this film when I first watched it. Like he was yelling at the fact that I didn't like it, even though it won an Oscar. It's just like, how dare you like something that has won an award? It's like, bitch, I know that it won an Oscar. That's the only reason why I watched this fucking thing,
You have
and it
not seen the
sucks
Oscar
anyway.
movies I have.
God, but it's like, and yeah, it's like if you like it, that's fine. But I just don't like this. I
Mhm.
it is one of the worst winners in this category, in my opinion, which is not that high or that low of a bar. Like there's some other bad winners. There's worse winners than this one, but it's pretty low down there for me.
Okay. I mean, like, I wasn't that passionate about it. I watched it. I thought it was cute, and
Yeah,
that's it.
and I do agree. Like the cat's cute. I think the duck's really cute. I feel bad for the bird who just has a balloon tied around it for the whole thing.
I know. I know the boy thinks he's helping, but man,
It's I guess it can kind of help if it has like the broken wing, but also it's like, what if its wing healed? It's just like I don't know, but yeah, it's Peter and the Wolf. That's what it really is, with some embellishments, because it's like I don't think in the real original story they have the boys in the town beating Peter up and throwing him in a dumpster.
yeah, when that was going on, I was like, is this kid already gonna die?
Uh, but it's like I was reading up a bit on the story. It's just because it's like because it does change a few things, and I feel like the changes are kind of weird and unnecessary, like that. And it's just like, and there's some bit at the end where it's just like in the original story, like they have a parade for Peter, like as he carries the wolf throughout town or whatever. But I guess I do like the ending, which I think isn't in the original, where Peter ends up like just letting the wolf go.
Hmm.
Oh, it's like that's a nice ending. But
Hmm.
yeah, I just thought this thing was boring. I guess that's really the main thing here. And it's like if I find something boring, that can just be a death sentence to it. It's just like it can have like so many other qualities, but if it does not engage me in the slightest, it's just why bother caring?
Yeah, because that's me with one of the other nominees that we are going to really disagree on.
Oh no. Okay. I think I know which one, but we will get there. But anything else you'd like to say about Peter and the Wolf?
Uh, I, the kid's eyes reminded me of Killian Murphy's big blue eyes. Other than that, nothing else.
You, you made me think of the one Miley Cyrus meme where she's like staring directly at you with the big eyes.
Hmm.
Mhm. Although another film in this lineup also reminds me of that, but we'll also get to that when we get there.
Hmm.
But before we get to anything good, we have to talk about our second nominee, which is Even Pigeons Go to Heaven, directed by Samuel Tournier. This is the first and only nomination for Tournier, as well as producer Simon Van Ness. I don't have much information about either man involved in this film. The most I do have tells me that Tournier made his first film in 1997 while a student at some film school that I can't find the name of. And then a decade later, he made this. And then
Hmm.
2 years ago, he directed a French feature film called Around, or based on Around the World in 80 Days, starring a frog and a monkey. And throughout all that, he made many commercials, directed a few short films starring the Minions, and co-directed a few episodes of Lego City Adventures and Lego Friends Next Chapter. Even my usual cheat code, the director's LinkedIn page, only has one thing, a comment by Tourneau under a LinkedIn post about this film, being happy to see how far his animators have come in the animation world. So, if nothing else, I'll move on to the film at hand. Even Pigeons Go to Heaven is about an elderly man being sold a machine that'll take him to heaven despite a life of sin. So, first off, this is an ugly movie. I hate
Yeah.
the way this fucking animation looks.
Hmm.
It's it, it- uh, I I can't really put it into like it's really just the standard 2000 CGI animation, and that
Hmm.
we that I have at least seen in many of the nominees in this decade that have just plagued this category and just
Hmm.
made my eyes bleed just
Hmm.
staring at them. And it's just like it's not like you can't make good looking films. It's like we had films like Nine, and where it's
Hmm.
just like it uses the animation's kind of grittiness to its advantage. It, and then it's like but some films like this just try too much
Hmm.
that they just can't do yet. And we got this really ugly old man who's about to die, but then this con artist priest guy comes in and tries to sell him this fucking orb that'll take him to heaven or whatever, but it's all just a scam on the elderly because of course it is. But then the real Grim Reaper comes in and it's like this could have been funny.
Yeah.
I get the joke here. It's like it could have been funny, but it's just not well made. It's just not told in a funny way. It's
Mhm.
just it feels lazy.
Yeah.
It's I don't have much else to say about this. What about you, Emily?
Uh, I thought the scene I wish I could meme the scene where he holds out the big list of all the guy's sins, but otherwise, yeah, I agree with everything you said.
It's like even the like fantasy sequence where he's looking at heaven isn't the what's supposed to
Mhm.
be the high peak of the film where it's like this is the most beautiful thing this man has ever seen. That's also just fucking ugly to look
Mhm.
at. It's just there's
Like,
nothing.
I wish
There's
this it could have almost been kind of like a matter of life and death where
if only more things were a matter of life and death.
I know. But like even if they'd done the heaven scenes in 2D animation I think that could have been a really interesting change instead of what we got.
Mhm. But 2D animation is just so hard. You need to use computers to make it easier on you, even though 3D animation is still very hard, but in its own
Mhm.
unique ways. But yeah, it's just I don't even want to talk about this, but I should probably say more. But it's just like there's also just not much more to say. Hey, and it's
Mhm.
like I guess the most I laughed at this, like the closest this came to being all that funny, was uh the very end of the film where it's like the credits have started, but then there's one brief scene where it's like the man go like after everybody's left, it's like the big orb is still there, and it's like he
Mhm.
goes into it because he still thinks it will take him to heaven. Goes in, presses the button, and he's stuck inside, and
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, it's like poor guy. It's just
Mhm.
he's just gonna die now. Anyway, if the funniest thing in your movie is is an old man who's going to die from suffocation or just being stuck in the fucking orb, it's not good. It's
Mhm.
you're not good here. Ugh. And it's like we don't even get a pigeon in this movie.
I know.
They don't even say the line. Even pigeons go to heaven.
Like
It's just like what?
I don't know if that's like a cultural thing that we're missing since we're both American, but
It's probably some stupid French saying.
yeah.
I'll just quickly look it up and see if anything comes up as a phrase, but I don't think it does. Yeah, like all that comes up is just the the film,
Mhm.
and so yeah, it's just stupid. That's just what it is. It's just a stupid title for a stupid movie, and that's it. And I guess this is a good place tonight to move on to our third we are rushing through this. Wow. Our third nominee, which is I Met the Walrus, directed by Josh Raskin. This is the first and only nomination for Raskin, who was brought onto the project after Jerry Levitan contacted him because he wanted a documentary made about the time he got to interview John Lennon when he was 14. Raskin might be actually an underrated innovator in certain fields of animation. While again, I can't find much about him, his work could be seen as a kind of precursor to the trend of kinetic typography, mainly seen in lyric videos for popular songs without an actual music video. Raskin used this style in his words to try and portray what it would be like inside the mind of a 14-year-old boy encountering his favorite musician. Raskin hadn't even had much of experience animating when he was approached by Levitan, only recently graduating from Ryerson University when he was approached. But Levitan liked his idea for the project, animating over the audio of the interview, and was able to secure funding for it from Bravo Fact, which created short animated documentaries and aired them on the Bravo channel, as well as uploaded them to YouTube. This film not only garnered an Oscar nomination, but also won an Emmy for Outstanding New Approaches in Daytime Entertainment, which was the Emmys category for digital content. I Met the Walrus directly visualizes each word John Lennon says in the brief interview clip we get as he talks about his anti-war views, while 14-year-old Jerry Levitan seems a bit more interested in just hearing about his music. Emily, what did you think of I Met the Walrus?
Uh the animation was kind of fine, but I literally do not give a fuck about John Lennon, so I was very bored during the what 5 minutes this is.
Yeah, yeah, it's only 5 minutes long, but it's just like John Lennon doesn't really he's not very verbose, I guess. It's like he doesn't have much to say. I guess I can relate to that, I guess, because I'm struggling talking about his film, but it's like he he just kind of circles around as he's talking about his anti-war stuff. It's just like,
Hmm.
which I guess I understand because from what I understand of the story, it's just Jerry Levitin's mom or something like knew where John Lennon was staying, shoved him into his like hotel room with a recorder, and
Do not show
basically,
this movie to Swifties.
well, I just showed it to you, so you're gonna do something crazy now. But yeah, it's just like I guess I yeah, like I said, like I was saying, it's like I understand why John Lennon is a bit like caught off guard while he's trying to explain his anti-war stuff. And it's like we only get a short segment of what if I remember correctly, it was like a 20-minute interview in total, but we only get like 5 minutes of it. So it's like there's probably stuff cut out, but it's like I don't think this was really worth turning into a documentary, but the guy who was involved in it like really wanted to make it into a documentary, and so they did. And and we and also the visual style where it's literally just like taking each word that John Lennon says literally and like making an image or putting a new image on screen for each word. It's like it doesn't really help like accentuate whatever John Lennon is saying. It just feels like it's giving you something to look at while you listen to what he's saying. It
Hmm.
doesn't really, it, like I was saying, it doesn't really accentuate anything. But it's just like it looks like it's meant to distract you. Like you might as well have just put up like fucking Subway Surfers or like the soap cutting or whatever that people on TikTok look out to maintain attention. It's just like this just isn't worth being a movie, and I don't understand why it got an Oscar nomination outside of people just jerking off John Lennon all the fucking time.
Hmm.
Because I I mentioned this in my letterbox review, but it's like if you go to the comments on the YouTube upload, like every single person on there is like, "Wow, John Lennon was such a visionary. He was gone too soon. Rest in peace. Imagine." And it's just like I I I don't know how these people exist.
I
It's
know. It's like if these people read a single actual like anti-war theorist or whatever, their minds would be blown.
it's crazy. And yeah, like you were saying, I don't care much about John Lennon. I like the Beatles. I like their music, but it's just like John Lennon has never been an interesting personality to me. It's just like
Same.
he's just a fucking guy, and that's it. It's a movie about a fucking guy talking to another fucking guy, and it's
Hmm.
like we're supposed to care, but I just don't.
Hmm.
Well, we are moving through this lineup quickly. Our fourth nominee is Madame Tutli-Putli, directed by Chris Lavis and Maciek Szczerboski. This is the first and only nomination for Lavis and Szczerboski, two Canadian animators and puppet makers, collectively known as Clyde Henry Productions. This is also the 31st nomination for the National Film Board of Canada, coming off their win for the Danish poet last year. Lavis and Szczerboski met in college in the Near East religions class and found a joint interest in animation. Their work draws influences from a lot of the texts they studied in college, with Tutli-Putli as a title coming from the Hindu word for puppet, but also drawing from the work of Carl Jung and other works of theirs drawing from scientific fascination, like their comic strip based around Yuri Gagarin. They eventually formed Clyde Henry Productions after originally getting the idea for Madame Tutli-Putli and trying to get it made. We'll save the story behind that film for a bit, but after making the film, the duo was contacted by Spike Jonze, who was working on Where the Wild Things Are, and wanted them to adapt another novel by Maurice Sendak as a short film to accompany his. They obliged and created Higgledy Piggledy Pop. There's a lot of like alliterative like titles that I get tripped over. Uh, they also made a few music videos or perhaps short films with music by popular musicians, working with Patrick Watson and Godspeed You Black Emperor on multiple films. And in recent years, they've been experimenting with VR films, with their most recent film being Gymnasia. And on their Instagram page, you can see them posting many pictures of their progress on their next film. It's honestly incredibly inspiring how much these two intensely strange filmmakers can keep making their fantastic work. And a lot of that is thanks to the constant support of the NFB. Anyway, let's talk about Tutli-Putli. The
What
idea
a
for the
beautifully
film,
weird movie.
yeah, I still got a lot of paragraph here to get
Oh, I'm sorry.
through. You're fine. But the idea for the film began with an idea of a woman on a train platform and just grew and grew from there. The story was created almost scattershot, writing it again and again, removing what didn't work, putting in the ideas they liked into a hat, and drawing them out, seeing if they can come up with a story that can bring these scenes together. But it was never really about a story for them, just the overall atmosphere. They took train rides around Canada for 2 weeks, never leaving the train, and just asking people questions about the ride, about themselves, searching for some inspiration to bring the mythos of a night train to life. The duo cities that the film itself takes place on a train ride from North Ontario to North Manitoba, where there is nothing but the same wooded landscape the whole way, comparing it to a sensory deprivation tank. When animating, the duo often brings in random objects they find in the street and just collect it in hopes that they can use it for something. Boxes upon boxes of random things. And this is where I'll bring up one of the most cited parts of the film, the eyes. While the film is mainly stop motion, the eyes on each character are digitally inserted human eyes. For the main character, they not only use the eyes of actress Lori Maher, but she ended up becoming a muse for the character, where Lavis and Shabosky paid close attention to her movements and animated the character like her. Madame Tutli-Putli eventually won 2 awards at the Cannes Film Festival as part of its Critics' Week selections, winning both the Short Grand Prix as well as the Petit Rail d'Or, an award given by 100 railwaymen whom are also cinephiles, which is a very fitting prize for this film to win. The film is about a woman boarding a train carrying everything she owns with her. Aboard the train, she meets a variety of eccentric personalities, some more charming than others, but as night falls, the ride becomes nightmarish. It becomes impossible to tell what's real and what's not. So, this film is absolutely fucking gorgeous. I watched this film twice, partially because to try and figure out what the hell goes on in it, because it's a very obtuse movie, I guess. Well, not obtuse, but just dreamlike and like not doesn't spell everything out for you. But it's like I also just kind of wanted to watch it again just because it looks so fucking good, because it is
Mhm.
just so perfectly built as a world, and it's just like just being in this cramped ass train with all these weird ass people in it, and then like once night falls and the other like the just the fucking weird ass people who come on and just pump gas to
Mhm.
the train and steal the tennis player's kidney or whatever. It's just
Mhm.
like, what the fuck is going on in this movie?
I
And
know.
and there's no real answers given, although like my second watch kind of made me realize that it's mainly a film about just like trying not to let yourself be like shut down by fear, and also learning to let go of your past and accepting like changes in life and things like that, just learning to move on. It's like there is a lot that you can like build, like dig out of here if you search long
Mhm.
enough, but you don't have to. You can just also just enjoy it for how weird this thing is and how unique it is, which I do. It's great. I love it. What about
Yeah,
you, Emily?
I agree. I thought the animation was utterly stunning. I was fascinated by how weird all the characters seemed to be, how odd it got when nightfall came and those freaking organ robbers come in. The thing with the moth, like I might have to watch it again myself just to get a better idea, but I really loved this.
Hmm. Yeah, there's truly just it's so dense of a movie too. It's just like it's only 17 minutes long, but there's so much that happens. There's so much to see. So I guess there's not that many characters, but still you get like a few different characters here that you just learn a little bit about. Like I love the two chess players that live in their little suitcase playing chess together and letting like
Mhm.
the bumps of the train like reorganize the pieces and everything. It's a very cute little moment.
Hmm.
And also I just want to say that uh I think it's funny that I have you on this episode and Isaac was on a different episode, and both of you get films where moths lead the main character into a maybe death avoid area. And it's just like it's a weird similarity that I have the two people who are like close friends on here, like the same
That's so
choice.
funny.
Yeah. So maybe you should watch Bunny, and or I'll send you a link to it afterwards so you can know what the hell Isaac watched.
Okay.
But yeah, you were gonna say something, I think.
Uh, I thought was the short Asian kid was really cute.
Yeah, he's reading like how to fight your enemies or something like that, how to conquer your
Hmm.
enemies. He's like, yeah, the little book. Like,
Hmm.
and of course, just how uncomfortable the tennis player is. It's just like
I know.
and how Tutli-Putli herself, like as he's about to like mime like fingering her or whatever, she puts her magazine up to cover whatever the fuck he's doing, and the way
I
he
know.
sniffs, it's like ah,
Public transport just be like that.
it's like him getting his kidneys stolen was karma.
I know. Like I would have been upset watching like the chess players or the kid having theirs stolen, but that I was like, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
And it's like, and from what we see, it's like it almost feels like he was the only one who got his organs stolen, because it's like if I saw it correctly, it's like the weird robber guys. It's like he looks over at Madame Tutli and like puts his finger over his mouth to like make sure she doesn't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone I'm stealing this kidney. But yeah, it's just there's a lot that goes on, and also the one shot where the train just runs over a fucking moose or whatever.
Hmm.
It's there's a lot here, like a lot of lot happens. There's a lot you can glean from this. It's just it's a really nice microcosm of a film.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also I just want to say the main character, she is gorgeous. I love her
I
outfit.
know.
And like the clearly the work that Lavis and Shabosky did to like make sure they got her movements perfectly, it paid off. She moves so beautifully. It's like you could tell so much about her character from the way she like moves and everything. It's just so good. Like one of the best characters I've seen like in a short film in a while. Just
Hmm.
love her. Love her. But yeah, this is just a great film.
Hmm.
Anything else you'd like to say about this before we again quickly move on to the next film?
I I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a lot of background in animation like you, but I wish we could have more movies that looked like this.
Truly, it's like it's God, and I'm so glad that Lavis and Shavosky are still like making more stuff, because I
Hmm.
did end up watching a few of their other short films, and it's just like God, they look so good, and it's like and I hope the film that they've been posting about on their Instagram, it's like that it comes out soon, because I think they did like just wrap up filming on it or shooting or whatever, or I think they just need to edit everything and then they'll be golden. But yeah,
Hmm.
and also when I was looking through their Instagram, I saw how the puppets in this film look before the eyes were digitally inserted, and it's creepy because it is just like a hollow like it impression
Hmm.
in the skull with like a dot in the center, which I imagine is for like the digital to like follow
Hmm.
where like the eyes are.
Can
It's
you imagine if these guys could do like an animated full-length horror movie?
God, imagine. I would love if they got the funding for that. I hope that NFB, like I know the NFB doesn't really do full length animation, but I really wish they would just like pick some animators, give them you use the funding they use for all like a few different short films and make one big film, and I think it'd be great.
Hmm.
And I actually like I dream about like making movies sometimes. And one of the things I want to do is like I have an idea for I don't do you know the children's book, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane?
Remind me what it sounds vaguely familiar, but Wait, is that the one about the rabbit?
Yes. Oh my
Yes, I
God.
loved that book as a kid.
Yes. Okay. So I want to do I have this one dream where it's like I want to go like go to the NFB, the National Film Board of Canada, and be like, hey, what if we adapted this book into a feature film? But it's like you get all these different animators to make like a portion of the movie. So it's like it's in all these different styles, like each
Oh, I
different
love
story.
that.
And it's like, and so it's like it'd be like functionally they're just making a bunch of little short films, but then we edit the short films together into one big film and it'd be great.
Mhm.
I really like I know this is just like a pipe dream, but I would love to make that happen. And it's just but if it is ever going to happen, it will probably be like a decade or two or three or five from now. But
Mhm.
maybe someday.
Mhm. Well, I will be first in line if you make it.
uh thanks for saying that. But let's just move on to our fifth and final nominee, which is My Love, directed by Aleksandr Petrov. This is Petrov's fourth and final nomination, previously winning this award for The Old Man and the Sea. And so, what else is there to say about Petrov that hasn't already been said in my last few episodes? This man is world famous for his insanely beautiful paint on glass animation, with The Old Man and the Sea being his magnum opus. What's next? Well, with that film being made in Canada, Petrov was a little homesick, so he went back home, picked up an old Russian story, and went to work making his next film. However, while his previous films were made with just himself and maybe one assistant, this time he found he needed help and had to outsource work to other studios. While this change helped him make the film, learn to not be over perfectionistic, it felt like he lost part of what he loved about the process, both having to explain what he wanted to 10 different people, as well as losing that perfectionism. Um, wait, yeah, as well as losing that perfectionism, going over each frame precisely. It's something he loved in the process. But as those things go, he also finds he loves seeing the people he's working with, seeing their pride in their work, and everyone coming together to make something beautiful. It's a different experience for Petrov, but not necessarily a bad or worse one. This film also experimented in using rotoscope for a few scenes, filming certain shots ahead of time, and directly using footage as reference for the character movement. Before going into the film itself, we have to discuss what's up next and why this is Petrov's final nomination. He made 5 films in 18 years. So, what has he done in the last 16 years? Well, after this film, Petrov found himself in a tight spot. He was running out of funds personally, and no one would finance another film for him. He would have loved to make another film, but he just couldn't get anyone to back him. The only project he's released was a short segment for the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics titled Firebird. But recently, Petrov has been working on a new film. It'll be around an hour long. They're animating it as we speak, but Petrov has no clue when the film would be completed because they keep wanting to add more to it. However, there is an estimated 2025 at the earliest date for the project. In any case, let's go back to My Love. The film is based on a short story by Ivan Shmelyov and is about a teenage boy with a very active imagination who is yearning for love, and 2 women draw his fancy. Pasha, his family's maid, and Serafina, an enigmatic wealthy woman whom he only catches glimpses of. Emily, what did you think of our final nominee?
Okay, well, I'm sorry for this. The animation is beautiful, but I just could not get into this story. I don't know what it was, but I just did
I
not care about this twink's love life.
I I definitely get that. Like it's like one of I guess not problems with Alexander Petrov, but something that can be harder to get into his films is that they are a bit like I I guess formal is the word, maybe a bit stuffy, maybe just like maybe a bit I think formal. Maybe they're just a bit too formal to really let yourself get invested in the work. It's like the the paint on glass animation is just so like exquisite or whatever that it's like it can almost like distract from the story it's telling and things like that. But I really love this one. I love all of his films, but this one, like I'm a romantic.
Mhm.
I couldn't help but just absolutely just invest myself totally into the story. It's just, I love the little dream sequences that the main character has, and it's like I love both of the women he's falling in love with. It's like I love how it's like he's not like the perfect main character, right? He's kind of like naive. He's kind of stupid. It is. It's
I
like
liked your letterbox review where you were like, I can't believe he fumbled two baddies.
yes, he did because at the fucking end of the movie, like sorry for spoilers if anybody cares, but it's just like the whole movie is like how he's trying to like he's in love with two different girls and he's trying to like make both of them fall in love with him too. Like one of them he's writing letters to, the other one is his family's maid, so he has plenty of time to talk to her. And they're both older than him. He's like 16. They're like early 20s. And it's just like which yes is kind of creepy, but it's like I'll let it pass because this is like 20th century Russia, whatever. But it's just like by the end of it, it's just like one of them gets mad at him because she finds out that he's also with the other one, and then he the worst part of the movie is when he breaks up with one of them because he finds out that she has a glass eye, and it's like and suddenly she's
Oh,
not
the
beautiful to him
horror.
anymore, or it oh yeah, also she's kind of like a slut, but it's just like that I would not do that. I'm better than
Hmm.
this kid. She should fall in love with me. She's gorgeous. I love her.
Hmm.
I love both of them. I love Aleksandr Petrov. But anyway, um, but then it's just like, and then he fucking like falls asleep in the snow or whatever, and then get nearly dies, but he gets found and brought back home. And then the other girl, the one that's still there, the kind of like she was mad at him, but she probably isn't anymore. But she prayed to God that like if he survived the sickness that he fell after he was in the snow, that she would go to a convent and dedicate her life to God. And so when he got better, she was already gone. So
Hmm.
fucking nothing for him. Oh well,
Hmm.
maybe he'll fumble another baddie later in life. But that's just where it ends. And it's just like
Hmm.
it's a disappointing ending, but it's like yeah, it works with the story. It's a bittersweet thing. It's just like at least he's
Hmm.
not fucking dead.
Yeah.
It's but God, I just uh, whenever I watch Alexander Petrov's movies, it's like I'm that like classic idea of like a little schoolgirl, like her legs flipping up on the bed as she's like on the phone with a boyfriend, but instead it's me just watching his movies on my computer. Her
Hmm.
it's just like I just love this style. It's so gorgeous to look at. It's just like I I just absolutely adore this film. I love the story too. I just love this. And I know you don't. And that's okay. I forgive you.
Hmm. Like, I'd be willing to watch it again too, because it was the last one I watched after I watched all five in a row. So I'm like, maybe I need to go in with a fresh mind. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's beautiful. I just did not care about the twink.
And I another thing just kind of related is just the fact that this lineup as a whole is really long. It's just like
Hmm.
we have Peter and the Wolf, which is like over 30 minutes, and then we have Tutli-Putli is 17. This one I think is like, if I remember correctly, it's like 15, 20 minutes.
Hmm.
It maybe longer. Or
I
and
thought it was
then
like 22.
yeah. And then it's like the other two are like we have one 5 minute, one 8 minute, which are normal. But it's
Thank
like
God.
with these other three really long ones, it's just like that.
Hmm.
I don't have the numbers, but it's like I feel like this has to be like one of the longer lineups at the very least in terms of like average length of the film. Almost
Hmm.
it's like, but yeah. Um, anything else you'd like to say about this? We went through this so quickly.
I'll definitely check out his other work, 'cause especially since you're so passionate about it. And like I said, I'm willing to give this another chance. I just didn't click with it.
I definitely would recommend his other films. Definitely at least two of his other nominations, The Old Man and the Sea, which is his like the main film people know him for. It's like is most
Hmm.
gorgeous. It was shot in IMAX, like 70 millimeter film, which makes it just pop even more.
Hmm.
But also that one is also a little boring, but also I think it's still better. But then there's also Rusalka slash The Mermaid. It depends on what language you're looking at it in. But that one is only 10 minutes and it's also told without dialogue, but it's really good too. Old Man and the Sea, The Mermaid, both great.
Okay.
You can watch those. But yeah, I guess that's all we have to say. This is just
I'm so we just didn't
no,
have a
it's
lot
not
to
your
say.
fault. Don't worry. It's just like usually I can think of more to say, but I guess with just these films, they didn't inspire much to say. There wasn't it just as a whole. There just wasn't that many like little details I noticed that were like really
Mhm.
interesting or anything like that. It's just like it's just the films are how they are, and
Mhm.
so I guess we'll move on to our rankings. So now that we've gone through and talked about the 5 nominees, let's rank them all. Emily, start us off with your number 5.
Number 5 is I Am the Walrus.
I Met the Walrus.
I Met the Walrus, whatever.
It
I'm
doesn't matter.
sorry. That
Who
shows you how
cares?
forgettable it was.
My number 5 is Peter and the Wolf. It's like we this is really the 3 bad films in this lineup are all very close in my mind in terms of how bad they are, and the 2 really good films are both very close in how good they are. So well, like it is really hard to determine which ones were better or worse than the others. So but when it came down to it, I think I enjoyed Peter and the Wolf the least. Like I was just miserable just waiting for the end of it. And it's just like so it's my number 5.
Mhm.
And number 4.
Pigeons Go to Heaven.
My number
Pigeon,
what was that?
or even Pigeons Go to
Yeah,
Heaven. That's
even pigeons go to heaven. Um, but my number 4 is I Met the Walrus, which is just kind of nothing movie. And just very uninteresting, even though the visual style is a little bit like interesting and dynamic, but also just doesn't do much to elevate the bad interview at all. Number 3.
My Love.
My number 3 is Even Pigeons Go to Heaven, and it should be grateful that it got 3rd place. Number 2.
Peter and the Wolf.
My number 2 is Madam Tutli-Putli. Uh, really gorgeous movie. I wish there was a little bit more that I could like grasp in terms of like meaning or story. Especially in like the last half where it's just kind of uh it's just kind of a nightmare. Like, but it's a
Mhm.
good thing. But also, I wish there's just a little bit more to it. But still, really great film. Really love it. One of the
Mhm.
best films of the lineup of this decade in this category. And you're number 1.
Madam Tutli-Putli.
And my number 1 is My Love because I love it and it's beautiful.
Mhm.
What a lineup!
I
What a
know.
very mixed bag. Some
Mhm.
really great films, some bad films.
Mhm.
But yeah, uh, before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Emily, or anything you'd like to promote?
Not that I can think of. Thank
Uh,
you again for having me.
Thank you again for coming on. It's an honor to. It's always fun to talk to my friends about movies.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you, Emily, for coming on the show, and thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.